I'm Tom Addington, here on behalf of 8th and Walton, and today we are one-on-one with Ken Simpson. Welcome, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
You are a veteran. You
Yeah.
have been in CPG for 33 years. You have worked internationally for 16 years. You have worked with the Sam's and Walmart international team of that 16 for 12 years. And you have been the international team leader of Clorox since 2001.
That's right.
Do us a favor and kind of rewind the tape and give us a little bit of sense on how it has changed in working in a CPG retailer interface kind of a context since you began your career.
Well, you know, it makes me think first that I was offered a job by Walmart right out of college, and I'll bet I didn't even think about that offer for 5 minutes because I thought, Arkansas, like, now where are they in Arkansas? Where's
Okay.
Bentonville?
Now, have you thought about it since then?
Yeah, because I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd probably be out fishing.
Very, very true. Yeah.
But I didn't even think about it for 5 minutes, and I turned that offer down. I went to work for P&G, which I thought, they're a big company, and they're really going to go places. And
Worked for them in Cincinnati?
well, that was one of the assignments I had was Cincinnati. But what's changed? Boy, of course, a lot has changed since 1976 when I started in this business. And one of the things that really comes to mind that changed so much is that when I started, it was the salesman and the buyer working together. But now and for the past, 10, 15 years, it's more of a multifunctional team approach with those functional people interfacing directly with the customer to provide more value, both for the customer and for the supplier. That was a revolutionary change.
Now, that's a change that's happened for all suppliers,
Yes.
right? But it really was defined first by the P&G Walmart team, the P&G Walmart team that came in here to begin partnerships with Walmart, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding, and it's the Lou Pritchett story that you read about in some of the books, and that's what got all that started, and it's worked pretty well since then. I think both for Walmart and for the suppliers. Of course, on the international side of the business, sometimes the international business will lag those kinds of things in the U.S. business.
Yeah.
And so the multifunctional team approach isn't necessarily like the way that business is done outside the United States.
Now, you spent a lot of time on the international side of the business, and you lead the international Walmart and Sam's team on behalf of Clorox. Give us an idea of what it's like to lead that team and what your job looks like, actually. And then I'd love to really ask you a number of questions about the international side of the Walmart Sam's business.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is I really must be a good influencer because there's not the authority. In other words, the people in the countries that I'm working with, because, and let me back up, my job is to help our people in the countries to be more successful with Walmart and Sam's. To do that, I need to be able to influence them because they don't report directly to me. They report through the in-country management. They have a dotted line relationship with me. But really, I'm about adding value to them. If I don't add value to them, then why should they give me any time or why should they have anything to do with my team here? So influencing them. Also, a big part of my job is influencing at Clorox, influencing our management about the international side and what can be done there, and also influencing about how we can win with Walmart and Sam's, what we need to change, what we need to do there.
Okay, so you have to influence.
Influence, and also the other part of the influence that I should mention too is that there's a Walmart international team here in Northwest Arkansas, and so I work with them, but also it's my job also to influence them. So yes, influence is very important. I also train, so training and coaching become very important. I'm really like a consultant to our people in the countries because I'm counseling them, coaching them, giving them training when they need it, talking with their management about what needs to be done, and really helping them in any way I can.
So what kinds of issues would you typically deal with in a given month as a team leader?
Well, of course, the one issue that comes up is when we have trouble. That always gets a ring to my phone. Recently, we had a problem in one of the countries where we were trying to make some proposals to move the business ahead and to achieve our joint business plan. But Walmart was saying that they really didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to talk about something else. And so I get the call about, well, what's going on here? In fact, we were named Vendor of the Year in that country not too long ago. And so my management's question to me was, well, one day we're doing great together, and now they won't even talk to us about the things that we really need to talk about to move the business ahead. Like, what's with that, and what should we do about it? That's a pretty typical call that I get.
So when that happens, Ken, do you typically, I mean, do you get on an airplane and you go there? Do you work with them over the telephone? How much time do you spend out there, in various countries where Walmart is located and where you're servicing the Walmart business versus in Northwest Arkansas?
I'm probably out of Northwest Arkansas about half the time.
Okay.
Because I really need to be in the countries with our people. I also go to Walmart with them when I'm in the country. So we have top-to-top meetings and other meetings with Walmart people that I participate in. One of the reasons why we do that is because it elevates our importance in the Walmart people's eyes. There's about 40 to 50 global suppliers that Walmart teams with globally. They were called focus suppliers, and they have a group here in Northwest Arkansas that works specifically with those suppliers. And so to me, that's an opportunity for us to set ourselves apart, particularly from the local suppliers.
And those top 50 suppliers that you mentioned then would interface with Walmart not only at the buyer level, but also when you say top to top, you mean there are conversations and there's a mechanism for interaction at a much higher level with issues as they come up.
Yeah, levels, but I think the key difference is that Walmart International interacts with those suppliers here in Northwest Arkansas. So they have a group here in Northwest Arkansas that their specific job is to work with those top suppliers.
So your job really is multifaceted in that you have key relationships as a top supplier, key relationships in Northwest Arkansas, as well as key relationships with in-country Walmart and Sam's organizations, as well as the buying organizations all over the world.
And in Oakland with my company's management. And by the way, another place that I interact a lot with is with our U.S. team, because the U.S. team plays a big part in our success with international. If you think about it, our U.S. team is, 5 years ahead of where we are internationally. So a lot of what I do is that I take what's working with Walmart U.S. and reapply that outside the U.S. with our teams.
Do you sometimes feel as the international team leader, as you are absorbing shock both from the Clorox headquarters that would like to get some stuff done, as well as the Walmart domestic and international organizations that would like to get stuff done, and you have to sort of explain both directions, not just sell one direction?
Sure, but I think that's the supplier's life. It was like that in 1976 when, I've got to try to listen to the customer and try to add value to the customer. On the other hand, my company is expecting me to add value to the company and to get what the company wants. So that's the salesman's life. That's the job that we do, is to try to find some common ground between those two so that we're adding value both ways.
You told me that you've done a lot of thinking, obviously, about, so what does it take to be successful? I'm sure people ask you this all the time as a top statesman team leader for a top supplier to a top or the top retailer. And you told me that there were about 9 things that as you think through, okay, what do we got to have to make this thing work? Those things come to mind. Would you mind running through those? Help us understand what you mean by those top 9 things that you sort of isolated as, we got to do these things, we got to figure these things out.
Well, you know, one thing though about those 9 things that I listed is that it's not unique to international. It's probably not even unique to the Walmart supplier relationship, because it's things like the first thing that I think you need to be successful is to start with the end in mind. Like, what is it that you want? The thing that I found in international and working with, I'll speak specifically to international, the thing that I found there is that it's very clear what Walmart wants. Walmart is extremely clear about what they want.
Just in international or to the same level of clarity in domestic?
I believe both.
Okay.
Both, but I'm sure that they're very clear about international. You know, they want the sales to grow according to the plan. They want sales to be ahead of their category growth. They want profit to grow faster than sales. You know, they're very specific, and then they have their supply chain metrics. They're very specific about what they want.
And Ken, they set that? You set that?
They
Two
set.
of you set that together?
You know, they set that. They set those expectations. Now, we do a joint business plan where we come up with the goals that we're driving for, but if your goals are below average, below their expectation, then they're not happy with that, and rightfully so. And they're going to push you. Hey, you know what? Your sales goal here is not even our average growth. Like, what's the value that your team is adding here? Do you want to be one of our top suppliers, or do you want to be bringing the average down, which is what you're currently doing? I mean, that's a kind of discussion that you get into. So, of course, we want to be better than average, and they're very good also about benchmarking the suppliers versus the average of your competitors. The thing that I find that is missing sometimes, and where the opportunity is to be clear about what the supplier's company wants. Now, usually those things actually are embedded in the person's performance expectations. But what I have advocated is to have a balanced scorecard, one that has on one side what Walmart wants, and very clear, here are the metrics, here's the measures, here's where we are, here are the benchmarks. But on the other side, what the supplier wants, how they're doing, and what are the benchmarks. And that's important because if you don't have that, you can become very focused on providing the value that Walmart wants, and they'll drive that. But sometimes you can forget about the supplier side. I had a situation with one country where we really drove the metrics for Walmart. Drove them. We really didn't have a system that was real clear about how we were doing on the supplier side, on the Clorox side. But what we found when we did really get into it is, wow, you know what, Walmart, of all of our customers, is at the very bottom of our profitability. So now all of a sudden, you got to ask the question, that's obviously bad for the supplier, but it's also bad for Walmart. Why? Because it's very difficult to sell the supplier's management on more resources or more investment when they're getting a below average return on investment.
So if you have a balanced scorecard like this, and it sets expectations that I assume are agreed to ahead of time on both sides, then that also takes the team leader and that international team responsible for driving those joint businesses forward a little bit out of the tension in the middle, at least theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, it only makes sense that you can use that then with your team to focus on not only delivering the Walmart metrics, but on delivering the Clorox metrics, and that when you're talking to your management about resources or the value of what you're providing on that team, if you have a scorecard that they've agreed to, here's what we want, and you're delivering that, that's good.
So Ken, with the top suppliers, these 50 top suppliers that you mentioned, and those expectations that are set on behalf of those suppliers worldwide by Walmart. Is that done in Bentonville, or is that done on a country-by-country basis?
It's done in Bentonville.
Okay.
There are specific expectations given to those global suppliers. Now, when you get into a country, there are times, though, too, when there are inconsistencies between what the country expects and what Bentonville is saying. And there are certainly times, too, when Bentonville is saying, like a good example is fill rate, let's say. So Bentonville says, well, the fill rate has to be 99%. That's the minimum, that's the standard. But sometimes we get into the country and we want to talk to Walmart about the fill rate. Say, you know what, we're not concerned about the fill rate. We really don't want to talk about that. What we're concerned about is, and they want to talk about something else. So it's not like it's always just perfectly, whether it's them or whether it's the supplier, there's not a perfect alignment all the time.
Which again speaks to the issue that when we talk about relationship, we're talking about relationship back to our own corporate headquarters, to the corporate entity Walmart and Sam's in Bentonville, but then also to each of the individual countries where you work as well.
Yes, you bring up a thought that an important model for success for me is, and you asked this earlier, like how do we work? How is it done? And actually you can think of it as 4 boxes. Like on one box you have the Clorox international team. We interface with the Walmart international team. We also interface with our in-country team. Mm-hmm. But Walmart International...
The Clorox in-country team.
Clorox in-country team. But Walmart interfaces with their in-country people, and then they interface with us. Our team in the country interfaces with Walmart in the country, and they interface with us. They don't interface with Walmart International. So it's kind of a 4-box, but in the middle, what's really important is that we have that balanced joint business plan, because that gets everyone on the same page. You can imagine, I call the country and I say, hey, this is really important. We need to do this, we need to do that. And I say, you know what, that's really not that important to me.
Yeah.
It's not on my list of things to do. It's not on my priorities. I'm not trying to accomplish that. We all need to be on the same page.
Ken, that plan is done once a year?
Once a year.
And it's done how long before the year starts?
Well, theoretically, it should be done at least a month before the year starts. And sometimes it's a calendar year. Sometimes they go by their fiscal year, February through January. But sometimes in international, they go January through December. We try to have really the plan done like October. But once you get the plan done, call it put together, then you need to align that plan. So you've already aligned it internally. Then you need to align that plan with all the Walmart people, starting the buyer, the DMM, the GMM, and then you try to finalize it with a top-to-top meeting between the two companies to say, okay, here's the final agreement on this joint business plan that we have for the next year. And sometimes that takes right up to almost where you're going to begin the year.
Okay,
yeah.
So first of all, we have to define customer success. We need a balanced scorecard. We need to know where we're going. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what's next.
The second thing is you have to have the right resources, and that's really critical to know what it is. So you know what you want to accomplish. Well, what are the resources you're going to need in order to accomplish those things? And particularly in today's world, where to be successful with Walmart and Sam's International, you need to take a